there's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites, and I've seen them now, and you sit there and
Fake news dominated the 2016 US election.
You should probably know where much of it comes from.
An involvement in a huge world issue that arguably might have changed the outcome of the US election.
In Europe to a small town called Veles, Macedonia, where BuzzFeed and The Guardian...
Veles, a small town
of Veles, Macedonia.
Can I speak English?
Sure. Why?
Because I don't want to be misunderstood, and I just don't want to be show that I'm not educated and I don't know how to speak English. In the time of Yugoslavia, right after the Second World War, they made this city as one of the main industrial centers. I think close to 70% of the people were working in the factories. So the industrial life was booming in Veles, and Veles was one of the best economic cities. In the 90s, we experienced a quite down in our economy. Most of them were actually dismissed, and they stay at home. So many of our parents were out of job, and many of us were just battling for money. Living in the 90s was not so easy, and somehow all of us actually promised themselves that we will make some more money just to not come back to the same situation. But the new industry was built since then.
The first journalists that arrived here in Macedonia spread the news and everything, and then additional crews of journalists were arriving every week. And they needed some target, some small unknown country in Europe to blame. They exploited this situation.
There was two types of description. The dramatic one was that this is a small city with a very poor population that actually done something that influenced on the results of their elections. Journalists was targeting teenagers and kids because it was more dramatic. They just want to show that some totally inexperienced, even non-speaking English teenagers, which is not true, of course, that were doing this type of news. If they write the truth that it's a normal place, then probably they think will not be so interesting for the audience. The true story about Veles is that this is not a small village with some non-educated people. It's a quite academic city with very educated people. 90% of the people of these few thousand websites are actually websites that do normal things like everyone else in the world. Just maybe few hundred or less actually doing the fake news.
It was, I think, at the end of the 2015 when we discovered that the people are so engaged that you can fuel their discussions about some kind of statements, interesting pictures, articles. At the beginning, my students didn't use fake news approach. I never advised them to use fake news as a method to gain more traction of their story. But my advice was always experiment and maybe come up with 10 versions of the title for the article, and then you choose one. Title is so important, it's everything. They saw that there is so much opportunity, so much interest. They started making their own stories, getting stories from right from their sleep. More and more people jumped on the bandwagon. So much people are approaching Facebook and other social media, believing everything they read on Facebook. They treat Facebook like a news media and like a news source for everything. That's the problem. There is some truth to the story, definitely, but not to that extent. Most of my students are not doing fake news now. I think 90% real news. They use their money to grow the perfectly legal and ethical Facebook pages. The problem is not here. There are so many mainstream media that are writing fake news and trying to influence the people's opinions, but maybe in a more subtle way and more carefully, I would say. So it's hard to draw a line. What's fake news? What's not? What's correct? What's fake? There will always be at least two sides of every story.
Fake news doesn't start from 2016 and will not end with 2017. The fake news are made everywhere in the world, but just somehow, for some reason, this place was picked to be focused on. Even quite popular mainstream media actually do this kind of news just to attract more viewers or readers. We can see that sites like BuzzFeed and some similar to them are actually doing this for many years. I don't think that start with Veles. I don't think that will finish with Veles. Always will be some people that want to write something dramatic to attract more people. So people need to understand that this is just a nice packed story by the mass media to distract the attention of the people and entertain them with some kind of weird story about some people writing something very wrong.